Put you on the side with the cool kid. See the. Oh, okay. How you been spreading rumor? You got her shirt, got her shirt. Girls.
Oh, don't have.
Change bags. Oh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh. I mean, you know what we look at already. Look at the camera.
Oh, yeah, you need that.
Huh? What? No, it's alright.
Oh,
I did.
I put it,
Seven.
yeah, I put them. Oh, no, I put their name. Oh.
Put them. Yeah. Seven of them.
Hey, I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ay, pugyag ko.
We count you, eh?
Ay. I'm in Lily Happy Neighborhood Boy. Actually, I'm on the house, the border. Yeah. I live in the valley and the Lily.
Oh.
They consider my house in Kamehameha Heights. So now, so when people ask, where do you live? Oh, Kamehameha Heights. Not Lily Valley.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, yeah, you have to have a 20th birthday. Or to
James, can you lower this? No, no. Oh, not really.
Wow.
7.
Sorry for helping me. I have to let there's so many guilty questions to do something, but whether any will pass or whether they'll make a difference.
Ala, what happened?
Yeah. I mean, with that incident and how your mom.
Well,
At me, at
because I did not get any notice from anybody.
on a lot of people, we'll have to wait
Except,
you know. It's going to
no.
I wrote the net.
Yes, you do. Who else? Daryl. And what's the other one? Daryl is on it. Worked.
Oh.
Yeah. Who's the other one? Last name is Domingo, I think. Domingo? The other guy. Oh, Jordan is here still. Yeah, for Richard.
Come on.
I'm gonna get it.
Huh?
The Russian night. Baking Kevin's not in shit.
Where's that?
He might come late.
You gotta work.
No, I was working.
Right.
Yeah,
Hi, how are you?
Hello.
Okay, Mr. Richard, 701.
Oh, hello. I don't know what.
701. Mr. Richard. Just got that.
Don't have car.
We need 2 more.
I'm Tina. I think that's okay.
Yes.
But we can still get one. Yeah. Supposed to be. Or whatever. Everybody? Yeah. Everybody ready? Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome all of you here tonight to our Waipahu Neighborhood Board meeting. We're at January 23rd and it's 7 o'clock, so we need to get started. We don't have quorum yet. We need two more folks, so we'll proceed with the agenda. And if we get quorum, then we'll vote on matters that need to have a vote. Otherwise, we're going to get started with the introduction of board members. And if I can call on, let's see, Debbie, you can be the first one. Introduce yourself.
Sorry.
Good evening, I'm Debbie Siegel. And I'm at large.
Good evening. I'm Terry Tumbaga, Sub-District 3.
Hello, I'm Jordana Ferreira at large.
Aloha and good evening. Nathan Chang, Sub-District 3.
Good evening, Jayton Chang, Sub-District 3.
Richard O'Shiro, at large. I'm just subbing for Daryl Bacha, who's out of town tonight. Thank you.
Maurice Morita at large.
Dave Beer, Sub-District 2.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to start by going over the rules of speaking. Anyone wishing to speak is asked to raise their hand, and when recognized by the chair, to address comments to the chair. Speakers are encouraged to keep their comments under 3 minutes, and those giving reports are urged to keep their reports under 3 minutes. And please silence all of your electronic devices. Thank you. So we're going to start first off with our first responder reports. I see the police department. I don't see anybody from the fire department. They were here, but I think they had a call, so they left. So police department, come up.
Good evening, Waipahu Neighborhood Board. Happy New Year. Lieutenant Iwasaki from District 3, Pro City. I'll start with the reported incidents report. So November 2024 compared to December 2024, motor vehicle thefts, it was 11. December, it was 6. Burglaries, 11. December went down to 5. Thefts, general thefts was 27 in November 2024 and 43 in December. And car break-ins was 6 in November 2024 and 10 in December 2024. Also brought the fireworks stats for December. So for the entire District 3, which encompasses from Salt Lake, Halava, all the way to Kunia, we had a total number of 319 calls. And for the Waipahu area, which is Kunia to Waipio, includes Waipio, we had 152 calls for fireworks violations. Also wanted to share that you guys know in many meetings I explained that it's really hard for us to enforce the fireworks. We just see an explosion here, explosion there. They'll respond to it, but by the time everything's cleaned up. So we shared that if someone had it on video, that although we don't want to jeopardize anyone's safety, but if somebody had it on video, then we can enforce it in that way as well and issue a citation or arrest the violator. But I wanted to share that they had a large fireworks display set up at Waipahu District Park one day. And it was huge, like a professional, almost like a professional display. And those individuals were arrested for that. And recently, after the new year, we had a large display also at Leo Kane and the end of Leo Kane Street. And those individuals as well were arrested too. And the fireworks was confiscated. So, and that also, Leo Kane was a very large display. I think it was all over social media as well. But that's all I have. Any questions?
Board members, any questions? I had one, Lieutenant Iwasaki. I don't know if you'll be able to stick around, but I know that we have presentation tonight for an upcoming street festival that's planned, a group. And we also received a letter, or the chair did, a letter from the event planners saying that they're applying for a liquor license for the event. Does that present any problems for the police in terms of what you may need to do to prepare for that or to, be on the alert in case anything happens at an event like that? I'm not sure what the projection is on the crowd, but I think what I've heard is that it's going to be a lot of people that they want to come to that event.
Yeah, definitely. Do you know what the event is called?
Beach Fest.
Street Fest. Okay, okay. Waipahu Street Fest, and do you have the date and time for that?
The event
location.
date is March 1st. I mean, they may respond to you, but they can't hear it.
Okay, March 1st, 4 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And what's the location?
It's at Hikimoy
okay.
and Waipahu Depot Road, right down the street here. Hikimoy and Waipahu Depot Road near Times Supermarket.
Okay, yeah, we definitely want to know about it. And then we have a meeting tomorrow, so I'll share that with our command. And then usually are you guys hiring special duty for that? Yeah, so they'll have special duty, but our district as well usually will have our own officers as well on post for events like that.
So does it
So-
present any particular problems for the police if people are drinking
Uh,
at an event like this?
Yeah, I mean, we hope that they have ample security and special duty hired for it, and we'll check on it to make sure that there is ample manpower for an event like that. But it's the same like when they have large concerts at Aloha Stadium. They use a stadium for really like 10,000 people concerts now, and we also do the same planning.
This is not Aloha Stadium. This is just down the street from here, Hikimoy and Waipahu Depot Road.
Yeah, so we'll definitely prep for that, and then if I can talk to you folks after, then and get more details on it. But yeah, we will prepare for it, and like I said, if they got the permits and the event is on, then we don't really have control over that, but we will provide whatever manpower that's needed to make sure that it's a safe event.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Any members of the audience? Okay, if not, thank you very much for your report.
Thank you. I'll stay for the presentation.
Okay, thank you. The military report?
Good evening, board members, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lieutenant Colonel John Regnery. I am the 599th Transportation Brigade Plans and Exercises Officer. It's a pleasure to be here and deliver tonight's military report from U.S. Army Hawaii. February Job Fair. U.S. Army Garrison Hawaii will hold its next hiring fair on February 18th at Iolomano Military Reservation Training Room from 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. This is open to the public. Advanced applicants may go to www.himwr.com to learn of openings and how to apply online. Walk-ins are welcome and should bring 2 references, proof of ID, social security card, and resume or application. Training advisory. U.S. Army Garrison publishes a monthly Army training advisory. Details for training remaining this month is as follows. Through January 31st, there will be a day and night live fire on Schofield Barracks for artillery and mortar fire live fire training. Training hours range from 5 a.m. to midnight. This weekend on January 24th and 25th, there will be demolitions training during the day on Schofield Barracks. Next week from January 27th through January 31st on the East Range, there will be range and jungle tactics training as well as aviation training during the day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. An updated report will be published no later than February 1st. To receive the report when it's published, At the start of each month, request a copy via email at usag.hawaii.comrel@army.mil. Pending any questions that you may have, this concludes the report. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions from members of the board? None. Any questions from the audience? Not. Thank you very much for your report. Moving on to our board business, the first two items involve the need for votes. So we don't have quorum, so we have to defer election of our board chair to the next meeting. Hopefully we'll have quorum, and the filling of any board vacancies. We have 5 at the moment, so if anybody that wants to serve, we've got 5 vacancies right now. The other thing, while talking about vacancies, is that the neighborhood board elections are currently in progress. So if anybody is interested in running for the board, you can go to the honolulu.gov, the neighborhood board website, and get an application and file your nomination papers. There are hard copies at the desk out front there if you want to pick one up. Otherwise, the voting is in progress. I'm sorry, filing for candidacy is on now, and the voting will occur on April 25th and end on May 16th. So we have a ways to go, but the filing deadline is February 21st. Friday, February 21st. Okay, the next item we have on our agenda is the board had to issue an absence letter, 3 absence letter to board member Maurice Morita. And if we act on that, well, we can't act on it tonight, but Maurice is here tonight, and maybe for the record, he can let us know whether he wants to continue serving on the board or not, and maybe why he had been absent. Maurice, you have the floor.
Yeah. Yes, I still want to serve. I'm sorry I couldn't have come. The 3 months I did miss. I have a dance club called Dance Hawaii, and I'm the president. It's hard for me to leave them practicing for our Christmas party. It was held last year, December 14th. So I apologize for missing the meetings.
Okay, thank you. We'll again defer that to the next meeting since we cannot take a vote tonight. So the next item on our agenda is resident and community concerns. Are there any resident or community concerns tonight? Board members, members of the audience? Seeing none, then we'll keep on moving along. Thank you. So up next tonight is a presentation that we have from the Waipahu Street Fest. The people that are listed as presenters from 1117 Creative is Megan Chin. So if you could introduce yourself and tell us about this event that's coming up.
Yeah, of course. Aloha. My name is Megan, and I'm the event planner for the Waipahu Street Fest. This is the second year that this is going to be put on. We're really excited to add more additional things to this event and have more community engagement. I want to address for sure the safety aspect. Safety is the biggest thing that we are concerned about for all events that we do. So we are working very closely with Department of Transportation Services. We're working really closely with Augie here, our councilman, as well as HFD. They're going to be on site this year to do first aid and some community outreach, which is really exciting. As well as we have some asks out to HPD to have their recruitment group out doing some additional outreach, as well as having special duty and lots of private security that we add, especially when we have something like a beer garden. It is going to be a small footprint. We've done many of these, so in similar neighborhoods and areas. And the last one that we had was about 35,000 people. So this is going to be, I think, very easily maintained, and we're going to make sure that obviously everyone is drinking responsibly and safely. That is, we're working with licensed bartenders and a group that has done many of these. So their security is always on top of it. We're on top of it, and people will get cut off if they're drinking too much and not even getting to that point. So we'll be monitoring that very closely. I know this is the first time there is going to be alcohol at this event, so we're going to make sure that it's really watched. But in addition to that, we're really excited to have this event to really bring the community together. The location that this event is being held was actually known as kind of the Pico of Waipahu town previously. So it's really the heart and a gathering place. This is the map. And you can see the outlines in the green are where the event is going to be. So the red line is just identifying that we have a fire lane, which is required for street permitting. We're going to have 3 streets that are fully blocked down. So Hikimoy, we're already working with the bus to have that rerouted up Kahuailani. So that's already in motion. We also are working with Skyline. They're going to be extending their hours to make sure that because there's not a ton of parking in this area in particular, we're really going to be encouraging people to take public transit, walking from the neighborhood. But then also we're going to have a lot of parking options if people are driving and do want to come. That'll be nearby. So all of this information will be listed. So this is just a breakdown of kind of the main details that you guys need to know. So Waipahu Street Fest, it's going to be on March 1st from 4 to 9 p.m. We do have some street closures that will be roughly from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. Granted, there's no hiccups, but that's what the street permitting is at. Waipahu Depot Street between Farrington and Hikimoy is going to be closed. And then on Hikimoy Street, it'll be between Waipahu Street, Depot Street, pardon me, and Kahuailani Street. We will have more details and a map that shows you where you can park. This whole map will be online and it's going to be on our social media. Starting February 1st, if you go to these links right now, you're not going to see the information, so don't be alarmed, but it will be there as of February 1st. And then our contact information is at the bottom if you have more questions beyond this, but we're going to be giving announcements, vendor updates. We're really focusing on the Waipahu community. So we really want to have retailers and vendors that are from this area. That's really our goal, is to bring this community together. There may be some other vendors from a little bit further outside the island region here, but Waipahu's our focus. So if you guys know anyone who would like to participate, please send them our way. We are also in the process of sending out physical mailers and doing signage that will be sent to the surrounding community so that everyone's aware and that this isn't a surprise to anyone come March. So we hope to see everyone in March. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, board members, any questions for Megan? Go ahead, Jayton.
I know that this is the first time that you'll be serving alcohol. Just out of
Yes.
curiosity, for the beer garden, what type of alcohol will be served?
So we are working with our beer supplier, and we are working on doing not hards. So we're really focusing on maybe some beer, wine, some seltzers maybe, but we're trying to stay away from hards. So that is our goal right now. We can confirm that, but that's where we've kind of driven them.
Okay. And then for traffic mitigation, I know you're working with the rail to have the
Yes.
rail run. Is that going to be the full line running or just part of it?
So we've requested that they extend all of their operations till 10 p.m. because people could be coming from anywhere. So we don't want anyone being inconvenienced or stuck. So we are working right now with Skyline specifically to find out, but they have confirmed that they do want to partner, and I believe it is all stations, but I'll make sure that it is all stations till 10 o'clock.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Terry? Yeah.
Yes, I have a question. In fact, a few. Regarding the Waipahu Transit Center, which is right by the skyline, how are you guys going to inform the, guess, the ridership? I mean, some people don't go look on social media. Are you guys going to post it somewhere so they know they have to go on to Kahulani Street, Vice Hikimoi Street?
Yes, so we again are working with DTS to make sure that it's widely known that there is going to be a reroute. We also are working with them to also put up promotion and flyers within the different sectors. So Skyline, we're hoping to do some digital signage, the bus, and Handy Van as well. So we're working to really make sure that it's very clear that there will be a change and not have anyone confused on where they need to go if they need to catch the bus in any direction. So we're going to be spreading the news out via those channels as well.
I have another question and follow up on my colleague regarding the alcohol. Is there going to be a limit into how many, alcohol drinks a person can serve to contain, to make sure safety around that area, especially it's right by Farrington Highway where there's a lot of, traffic.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen.
For sure. So again, we're going to have lots of security that are roaming. So not just at the beer garden, but we have HPD that we have foot patrol, as well as private security foot patrol. We have security within the area of the beer garden. And then we have the beer garden, we really leave it to them. They are professionals. They will not overserve people. We've never had an issue, knock on wood, in any of the events that we've done. So we don't expect this to be different, and they will be, I don't know if there's a number that they stop at, but I know that they are very responsible in making sure they can usually tell if someone's already over the limit or getting there or even trying, because sometimes people will drink before, come and want to have a drink there, but if they are visibly not, they shouldn't be drinking, then they won't serve them. So it'll be at their discretion.
Okay, so they will decide based on, I guess, appearances or whatever on the limit alcoholic drink per person.
Yeah, but also they're not going to serve someone like 10 drinks, just in general. So I'm not sure what I can ask and get back to you, but I'm not sure if they have a number in their mind on people can have up to 4 or something like that.
So my final question on the first slide, you had Cam School on it. Is Cam School sponsoring this event? Is that the reason why? Because around that area, I guess either this year or next year, the construction will be working in that area like Time Supermarket. So is that why Cam School is a sponsor for this event?
So I can't speak for Kamehameha Schools. We are just brought on as the event planners. So we aren't really privy to the construction, redevelopment, any of that information. But what I do know is the properties that we are utilizing are Kamehameha Schools. So they are partnering with us and financially helping with putting this event on to bring that community to have something fun for all ages, because this really is supposed to be a family event. We're going to have keiki games, really including everyone of all ages to be able to come and learn and get some historical understanding with some cultural groups that are in the area as well that we're partnering with. So they are going to be one of our sponsors though, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the board? I have a few. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Debbie, go ahead.
Hi, and what's gonna stop people attending the events from bringing their own alcohol?
We will have people continuously walking through. So there should not be, people get very smart, even with a flask like that, they can have alcohol in that walking around. So we will be watching for that, trying to keep it away as much as possible. Our security can only do so much, but if it's seen, it will be taken out and then they will be asked to leave. So that's going to be the guidelines we give them, but you can't catch everyone, unfortunately, but we will be having lots of bodies around. So hopefully it won't encourage anyone to try to do that.
Any others from the board? Oh, I have a few. When you say commitment schools, they're probably on that flyer. So are they the primary sponsor in terms of underwriting cost of this event?
So currently, we are still going out to get sponsorships. So this is still in process. We are looking at a presenting sponsor that is not Kamehameha Schools.
So do the vendors have to pay a fee to participate in this?
Yes.
Okay, and then the revenues like from the beer, who does that go to?
So that is all, basically, this is coming into the costs of the event. So to put on the event, any of our rentals, any of our contractors we bring in, like photographers, videographers, additional contractors like street cleaners, all of the money that the revenue, I guess, would be going into the cost of creating this event. So there's not, honestly, there's not any revenue that actually comes in. It all goes into the event.
So what's the incentive for the vendors to come in if they're not going to get anything out of it? If all of their revenue is going to pay for the cost of the event?
Oh, I'm sorry. So for vendors, if they're a vendor, they'll have a vendor fee to have a booth, to have a space in the event. But anything they sell is theirs. That doesn't get touched by us. So basically, they're just paying an initial booth fee, which is very standard for events like this.
So that goes to the cost of the operation of the event.
Yes, so the vendor booth fees will all go into the cost of the
What
event.
does a beer garden have to do? You say this is culture. So what does a beer garden have to do with the culture that you're trying to promote?
I think for the beer garden, it's not necessarily that we're trying to say that's cultural. We're just bringing in more elements that can get a larger group of people to come enjoy responsibly. We're not trying to bring people to have a beer fest, which I know is, I think, happening right now. It's really just to have things for everyone who might be interested in different things, but in a responsible way.
Yeah, the other thing is that quite often when people come to these events, they don't just drink at the event. They come already having had a few drinks to the event. So you don't know how many, if you serve 3, they may have had 5 already. So you can't really control that. So wouldn't it cost you more having the added security and all the people that you need to monitor and police that by having that beer garden? So wouldn't that cut your costs if, say, you didn't serve any liquor?
Honestly, the cost is still not too far off from having the beer garden in the footprint, and it does bring revenue to covering the cost of more entertainers, more performers that are from the community. It really brings just the opportunity for us to add additional things to the event. So it's not about the alcohol. And also, if people are coming in and they're obviously drunk, they're not going to be served. And also, this is why we're trying to we're staying away from hard liquors. So beer, wine, things that are not
Beer
high.
could have the same effect as hard liquor. You know,
I'm not
one
denying that.
beer is equal
Yeah.
to one drink. So, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know how you can say that.
I'm just speaking from experience in the events
Where
that
have
I've
you had
done.
events before? Have you, besides the one you had in Waipahu in the past?
I actually didn't do last year's Waipahu Street Fest. The other ones I've done are all over the place, but our Kaka'ako, so Honolulu Night Market, all of the
So you've
large
had a lot of
street
events with
festivals.
Kaka'ako.
Yes,
So this is like an event that we can see in Kaka'ako.
Yes.
So you're bringing a taste of Kaka'ako to Waipahu.
but making it Waipahu, not Kaka'ako, because they're
So that's
completely
why,
different.
like if you go to Kaka'ako, they have beer gardens and they have a lot of drinking at those events, right?
We're using the same exact groups, but yes, we've been able to perform and show that we've been able to maintain safety and security, and we haven't had any issues or even with having fire on site as well as police, that
Well,
helps curb
It's like
that.
a taste of Kaka'ako, which fits into that area because Kamehameha Schools is going to build 2 high rises, like the high rises in Kaka'ako.
I don't necessarily think, I mean, that point now, we're saying that Waipahu residents don't deserve something that town does. But, you know, and I think our residents in Waipahu deserve just as much entertainment as anyone else on the island. My concern as far as the drinking goes, and there is a big difference between drinking a beer and drinking a couple of shots, right? We know that. I mean, a green bottle versus
Yeah.
Jaeger.
Yeah.
But for our police officer who's here today, what would this event serving alcohol hamper your ability to enforce our public intoxication laws because they were served at an event within our neighborhood? Would that keep you from being able to arrest someone for public intoxication? That would be my concern.
It wouldn't prevent us from arresting them for public intoxication, yeah. If
Okay.
they're disorderly, DUI, anything to do with them drinking, they'll be arrested.
Okay,
if
so
they break the
legally,
law, yeah.
legally then we have a safety net built in. We'll have enough security, we'll have officers, we'll have the Honolulu Fire Department here as well, in case somebody, I don't know, sets themselves on fire. But we're covered. From your perspective as a law enforcement officer, are we in good shape?
Yeah, depending on the special duty and stuff like that. So I'll talk to Megan after this, and then we'll make sure that we get all of that covered.
Okay.
Because we don't want this street fest to have two special duty officers.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Which happened in the past before. So yeah, with that much people expected to be there. So I'll discuss that with Megan after.
Okay. Then yeah, I on my own, I don't see a problem with it.
I have one last question. When is the liquor commission hearing on your special permit for the liquor license?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? When is it?
When is the liquor commission meeting that will act on your liquor license request?
So the application's in, we haven't had a hearing date set yet, but we can let you know when that gets set. But it should be in a couple weeks, I believe.
Yeah, because usually the liquor commission notifies the neighborhood boards when they have requests for, liquor permits in their or districts. But you don't
Yes.
know when the hearing.
It hasn't been set
It
from what
hasn't been
I've been told. So yeah, we haven't had it set, but I can definitely email Zoidel and the team and make sure that you guys are aware when that is coming up, when it gets set.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? If not, thank you very much for your presentation.
No
tonight.
problem.
Thank you. I see the fire department returned, so can we get you up to the podium since you have to take off? Thank you.
Sorry about that. We just caught an alarm right when we were pulling in. But yeah, so I am acting Captain Alardi from Engine 42 Waikele. So I'm going to give you the report for the December 2024. There were 2 structure fires, one wildland brush fire, 12 nuisance fires, and 12 activated alarms with no fires. On the emergency side, we had 254 medicals, 2 motor vehicle collisions, dealing with a pedestrian, and 5 motor vehicle crash collisions. Fire safety tip for this time is appliance and electrical safety. We're kind of saying minimize electrical fire risk in your home with these safety tips. Electrical work should only be performed by a qualified electrician. Check your electrical cords if they are cracked or damaged and replace them. Do not overload wall outlets or power strips, and use certified power strips that meet safety standards. Extension cords should not be used for long term. They are designed for temporary use only. Follow the manufacturer's instructions for all appliances. And for more information, safety tips, and checklists, visit fire.honolulu.gov. That concludes the monthly report. If you guys have any questions.
Do we have any questions for the fire department and the board? Terry?
You had reported nuisance fire. Could you kindly describe what that is? I'm not smart in that
Oh, no.
terminology. Oh,
So
sorry.
nuisance fires include like rubbish fires and things that are not involving a structure or a vehicle.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I see no questions from board members. Any questions from the audience? Thank you very much for your report.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to our elected officials. First up is our mayor's representative, Mr. Babcock.
Okay, good evening, Waipahu Neighborhood Board. Happy New Year. Roger Babcock, Director of the Department of Environmental Services for the mayor tonight. So let's see, there are some updates. So updates from the mayor's office are in the mayor's highlight magazine that is available. Some of the highlights in there, city lifeguards and firefighters worked the Eddy this year let's see, December 22nd. And let's see, city and county announced a new landfill site on Oahu. You might have heard about that. Mayor Blangiardi honored council member Calvin Say, who retired from public service after many years at the city and then at the state. Prior to that, 40th annual Honolulu City Lights celebration was, hopefully you got to see that. It was bigger and better this year. It was really nice. It just got taken down about January 3rd or so. The city earned won a $2 million grant for affordable housing development in Iwilei. So there's big plans for Iwilei. And so the mayor's newsletter is available online at honolulu.gov/mayor/newsletter. Thanks for covering the NCO elections. That was on my list as well. The other one that is on the list has to do with the Ocean Safety Commission, which is new. And so the city is seeking candidates for the 2025 launch. We're looking for exceptional individuals to join the Ocean Safety Commission, with initial meetings forecasted for July of this year. In preparation for its launch, the city is seeking 5 qualified and passionate members of the public to serve as commissioners. And so while the Ocean Safety Commission will not have direct operational or administrative authority over the Honolulu Ocean Safety Department, it is tasked with the following important duties: appointing the Ocean Safety Chief, reviewing the annual budget prepared by the Ocean Safety Chief and making recommendations to the mayor and the city council, reviewing the department's operations, and as deemed necessary for the purpose of recommending improvements to the Ocean Safety Chief, evaluating at least annually the performance of the Ocean Safety Chief and submitting a report to the evaluation to the mayor and the city council, hearing complaints of citizens concerning the department and or its personnel, and if deemed necessary, making recommendations to the chief for appropriate corrective actions, submitting an annual report to the mayor and the city council on its activities. So the eligibility requirements: applicants must reside in the city of Honolulu, be registered voters, and demonstrate expertise in one or more of the following areas. So looking for people in specific areas, in each of the following specific areas. Number 1, open water life-saving and public safety services. Number 2, marine conservation and environmental science. Number 3, community education and outreach. 4, ocean, water, sports, and recreation. 5, risk management and injury prevention in a dynamic aquatic environment. Emergency management and disaster preparedness, and intimate knowledge of the city charter pertaining to the Hawaii Ocean Safety, Honolulu Ocean Safety Division. So interested candidates should submit a resume and cover letter by January 31st, which is very soon, next week, to mdoffice@honolulu.gov. So that's for folks that are interested in serving on the Ocean Safety Commission, which is involved with the Ocean Safety Division Department. Okay, so I just have one follow-up from past meetings, and that is a complaint from, it was directed to DFM. It was the river on the Waipahu Street. So it was noted that a homeowner filed a complaint regarding homeless encampments on the city side of the river. Homeowner's backyard is where the riverbank is, and from where the bridge is are the encampments. And so let's see, Member Andrade noted that the homeless camp has trash, which is making the homeless homeowners along the river upset because the city is not doing anything about it. Member Andrade noted that she contacted DFM Director Gene Albano 3 weeks ago, and she was told that they were working on it. So DFM responded, and they said that the DFM's stored property branch, SPO, along with the Honolulu Police Department assistance, along with additional help from the Pearl City Roads Maintenance Yard and the Kapolei Roads Maintenance Yard, conducted an enforcement and cleanup of the area, Mauka of Waipahu Street below and under the bridge, and on the stream bank areas where the reported homeless encampments were reported in Waikele Stream on December 3rd. No active encampments were found, and the area was cleared of all debris and trash at that time. The Department of Community Services has been advised of the reported encampments for future reference and outreach services. DFM's stored property branch will investigate complaints regarding illegally stored property on city property when reports are received and take appropriate actions. Complaints can be reported via email to dfmroads@honolulu.gov. That is what I have, and but I'd be happy to answer any questions or take anything back that you have.
Any questions from members of the board? Terry?
Yes, sir. I have regarding the eddy. I commend the city for doing the shuttle going directly to the eddy. However, coming back, it was very difficult coming back. There weren't like a shuttle coming back to Wahiawa Transit Center. I know for a fact because I was one of the people that attended, and coming back from Waimea to Haleiwa, there was no bus. It was almost like 2 hours during the course of the time during the eddy. So a lot of spectators had either hitchhiked or be like me, walk 5.5 miles from Waimea Bay to Haleiwa. So my recommendation is maybe the next time when you guys have the eddy, is it possible if you guys can not only just have a shuttle going to the eddy, but a shuttle coming back? Because when we asked the bus driver, they said they had to go all the way down to Kahuku, down all the way to Kaneohe, Kailua before they can come back. So it's just a suggestion.
Yeah, thank you. I'll take that suggestion to DTS.
I also have another concern. This is regarding the Department of Transportation. I had put in a ticket request for one of the streets in Waipahu, and it's been like over 1.5 years. And every time I call them, they keep missing the ticket or losing the ticket. So I have to keep submitting the ticket. I don't have the ticket number with me, but it seems like there's a change in staff every time I call, because prior to when you're asking, hey, can you fix a street sign or fix a stop sign, there was a center person that you could contact and they would direct you. Now it's like, oh, that's not my area. Call someone else. And then I call someone else. Oh, we don't know what you're talking about. And even if I give the ticket number, they can't find it in their system. So has there been a change in the procedure, or are they shorthanded? I know there's a lot of road improvements that's being made, but I feel like it's being ignored or not being shuffled somewhere else. So can you find out what's going on in that area? I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. So let me just make sure I understand what I need to ask about. So it's about what kind of specific concerns?
Basically, like right over here in this area, people are speeding up and down to get to this traffic light and Waipahu Street. People have crossed right through the red lights. And we have a lot of kapunas in this area. We have children, especially up over here. We have a charter school right in the next 2 buildings from here with people from the Y. And you see them just speeding. And so I called the Department of Transportation to ask either they can put a hump or speed light or something to prevent, people running through the red traffic light. So I got a ticket number, and this was 2023 that I put in. And they said, well, we can't get to it until August 2024. Called 2024, and they said, oh, we don't know where that ticket is. So, it's been I've been getting like the runaround. I don't have the ticket number with me. I didn't bring it, but yeah, I've been getting the runaround just to slow down traffic. I know they are busy in other areas, but this is a very congested and a very well trafficked area for pedestrians and automobiles. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So DTS is the right place, and specifically it would be I think it would be the Complete Streets program. They're the ones that do the speed humps and other traffic calming things and bike lanes and stuff like that. And I'm sure that they would want to hear from you. So that is the place that you need to talk to. We have very nice people there. And so maybe afterwards you can give me your phone number if you want, and I can have them call you to talk specifically with that. And of course, general concerns about speeding or running red lights would be HPD, but traffic calming would be DTS. They also do, some other things like parking and things like that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the members of the board? Any questions from the audience? You can go up to the mic and ask your questions for Mr. Babcock.
This young lady over here, with the Office of
Could you
Council.
identify yourself?
My name is Aaron Wilson. I'm with the Office of Councilmember Okimoto. And if you call your council member, the staff will be able to expedite your concern. So if you have an issue with the speeding, you would call, say, my office per se, or whoever represents you. Then the staff member will be able to get back to you in a timely fashion, or at least follow up for you. So you don't have to worry about continuously trying to find out who you spoke with DTS. Just a little bit easier way.
Yeah, thank you. I just was trying to do it a different direct way since I've never had a problem with DTS prior. I asked them to put a stop sign, I asked them to put a dead end sign, no issues. They did it within 2-3 weeks, sometimes 6 months. But lately it's been like, I'm getting the runaround. So that's why I'm bringing up that concern. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's appreciated. And yeah, understood. I get it. That's a great suggestion. Now, you council members can make things happen.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the audience? No, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Matt Wire.
Aloha, board, members of the community. Matt Wire. Happy New Year, everyone. To provide first follow-up updates. So I know board member Siegel had asked about the parcel across from Kulana Knolls. We did send a letter to the landowner in December about the homelessness issue. And then we also sent the inquiry to Honolulu Fire Department to do an inspection. Sometimes these properties may have violations of the fire code and they can be cited for that, which can expedite clearance and then, of course, help alleviate the homelessness issue. We'll also have let the coordinator for the area know as well. Understanding when these issues occur on private property, we really have to rely on the landowner unless there's a violation of a specific city law, because to say do something like a trespass ban, we would need the landowner to consent and fill out the paperwork for that. I know board member Oshiro had asked about alternatives to the single-use plastic bottles. And so just to follow up on that, I'll first update and note that our bill getting single-use plastic bottles out of city facilities failed to get 5 votes. It got 4 votes to get past second reading. I'll just note that, understand the administration's concern that they shared that it would have been inconvenient to switch from plastic, given that they provide plastic bottles to some of the guests at Honolulu Hale. So we're going to reintroduce that with Chair Waters, who co-introduced the measure with us, just to first get it out of our vending machines. I know the question was about alternatives, so I went to Foodland and Safeway, bought a few dozen ones at our office, so I can bring some if you want to see them, but the alternatives range from glass to aluminum to the cardboard boxes. Some of them have advantages and disadvantages. Of course, aluminum cans have a much higher recapture rate when you recycle it. And of course, I think the discussion at council was really fruitful. No one intended or wants to harm local businesses. And so our hope is just to narrow it to vending machines. We can, again, like the original intent was, provide an example to our community, understanding that these microplastics, we all know are in our bodies, our kidneys, our livers, and National Institute of Health info has shown that when we're looking at folks with neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, we're seeing it 10 times higher in terms of microplastics in our brain. Of course, not alarmist. That's just data that's been provided by some of our health experts in our community. And so look forward to collaborating with the administration on that, given the discussion on the landfill and the need to reduce our waste. And so I will note we did disseminate our newsletter. The updates on the landfill should be in there. And we do have, I would just note that we have resolution 25003. That's the first item under our legislative updates. That would just be reaffirming the city's longstanding policy to not place an aquifer or a landfill rather above our drinking water resources. I know the administration has outlined their intention with the current location that I'm sure everyone by now is familiar with. Of course, there's a lot of concerns from our office's part on it. First, given that it's grade A ag land that's in production right now, supporting local jobs and actual viable ag land. And that's just notable given that we have so much ag land that's fallow. And so do think that it would be unfortunate to take 150 acres of active agricultural land that's supporting local jobs out of production. And of course, that's why we're grateful for opposition from the Farm Bureau and other advocates in the area. But I do think our greatest concern is just the Board of Water Supply's rejection of this particular site. We know that in 2022, they indicated that they didn't think these locations were appropriate given the no pass zone that exists. Simply put, that's any area on Oahu that's not over cap rock. So the hard rock surface is closer to our coasts. And understanding that the administration didn't push back on that determination in 2022. We got to 2024, and we understand that the Board of Water Supply issued the administration a letter in December rejecting the site and gave the department until January 16th to appeal that decision. Again, understanding that these rules are in compliance with the HRS and supported by our Hawaii Constitution, and given Board of Water Supply's role as a semi-autonomous agency, we just note that they're different than other administrative rules in terms of the executive branch's ability to override them. Respect the administration's difference of opinion on that authority. We've had discussions, and of course, my preference is that all use of operating funds at this point on this particular project would cease. Given that we don't have limitations in the current budget, our goal after passing resolution 25003, which I'll just note is up for full council next Wednesday. So if you want to submit testimony in support of that, we welcome it and would appreciate it. And, would welcome further action by this board as the conversation continues over the next few months. But just with that resolution, getting out a committee with 5 votes and a friendly amendment from a non-voting member, our hope is that it passes. And of course, when we get mayor's budget in March, we'll be proposing provisos to the next fiscal year's budget to ensure that no city funds can be utilized on any aspect of this project. I'll just mahalo all of the state legislators that have been putting bills in to address this issue. And so we just suggest that if this is an issue that concerns you, you can follow those and submit testimony as well. I think one of interest in particular, I'll say too, there is one that would just straight up ban landfills above DOH recognized aquifers. And there's one that also includes not allowing landfills on Class A and Class B ag land. And we'll just share that when budget does come around, we'll provide updates as well. So if you want to provide testimony on that, that'll also be welcome. We'll just note that I don't doubt the administration's sincerity and their belief that they can operate a landfill in compliance with the current federal regulations and do recognize the challenges that they have before them in terms of the three options that they laid out. But with that said, and understanding that the engineers that manage our waste are working very hard, we just stand with Manager and Chief Engineer Ernie Lau on this in acknowledging that really we have to think long-term in terms of protecting our drinking water and understand that this is a step we can take to protect future generations. And I'll just end with the last page, or there's a page in our newsletter that has all of the committees at council. The first 7 are committees that we're voting members on. And then we also have some of the bills that I mentioned, or legislation that we've introduced. So we have Bill 64. That would create a down payment assistance program. The city does have a down payment assistance program right now, but it's limited based on your income. So there's a big gap group that's left out. And so we met with the department that would run it at the city, Department of Community Services, this morning, and the state Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation that also is starting up a program to see how we can complement their program, because we don't want to overlap or duplicate. And so we'll keep you updated on that. We also have Bill 61, which was our wheelie bill, and we're currently discussing how to adjust that with some input from Corporation Council. And then we also had Bill 51 that passed and was signed by Mayor. That's the adaptive reuse bill that will help some of these empty commercial units in town, many of them empty after COVID, right, and underutilized, provide some provisions that we can turn those into housing opportunities for our local families. So I want to thank you for having me and happy to take any questions.
Any questions for members of the board? Jatin?
So since you brought up the landfill, this is a question around that.
Of course.
The administration selected ag land that is owned by Dole.
Correct.
If I'm not mistaken. So if we decided to go through with it, do we just claim eminent domain and condemn the land and take it away from the landowner, or do we have to pay them for the land? And if we condemn it and take it away, what does that stop the city from doing it to an entire neighborhood?
That's a great question. And so I'll, of course, defer to Director Babcock or the administration if they have a different interpretation. As a general rule, the city can eminent domain property, so take it with just compensation for a public use. My understanding, based on what's been relayed, there have been discussions with Dole about trying to acquire the land. Of course, they're currently opposed to that given the location. I know there's been discussions about other Dole properties as well, which are all within the Board of Water Supplies, no pass zone. The city would have to pay for that taking, whether it was voluntary or not. I'll just note, since we're discussing it, and I don't think it's any secret to the administration, so I'm not, showing our hand, to identify city property, to make that acquisition and use the funds for that acquisition, we do have to pass something called a public infrastructure map symbol. Really simple, it's just a symbol on a map, and we have to pass that by resolution. So that's another avenue that I would hope the council could oppose that. And so if that's rejected, of course, the administration would be unable to utilize city funds for that acquisition.
Any other members? I had a few follow-up
Of course.
The city knew before they selected the six sites that not supposed to they're not supposed to build a landfill over aquifer, but they still came up with 6 sites, and the ones they picked obviously are over an aquifer. And in the case that they picked with Waipahu, it's also private ag land. So, those are problems, and a lot of people oppose it already. But people that oppose it, I haven't heard anyone, not just saying yourself, but anybody else, nobody has really offered any alternative sites where the board said you can build landfills over the CAPRA. So, I mean, are there sites in those areas along the coastlines, which is where most of that is, that can accommodate a landfill? The only one I saw is like in Kailua, but apparently that's was out from the beginning. So are there any sites that you're aware of that to possibly accommodate a landfill?
Yeah, and so the administration's outlined first and provided a memo that identified various sites across the island, and then of course provided their analysis for why they don't think certain sites are appropriate. I don't even want to question that because I think there's some legitimate environmental justice concerns about some of the locations that would be available, particularly on the west side. But aside from that, I think the administration arrived at three options. The first option, of course, being the one that was identified, placing the landfill above the aquifer. The second option would have been looking at the sites you're referencing in Kailua that would allow for amendments to Act 73, which is a state law that provides a buffer zone, not necessarily advocating, but just providing the information. Amendments could be reduced to, I believe, a quarter mile with some other adjustments given the type of land to open up those sites. And then, of course, the third option that was presented was asking for an extension at Waimanalo Gulch, which is the current landfill that the LUC has asked the city to close. And so I'm assuming that third option would be requesting an extension and, if needed, potentially a boundary amendment. So those would be, I guess, the alternatives that the administration's identified. And as I noted, I recognize the challenges that they've, it's a challenging decision, right? Placing a landfill. And, managing director did apologize during committee for not letting the council know, for not letting the landowner know, for not letting the community know. And that was a decision I think that they made, or he stated they made to stay ahead of it so folks didn't come out and try to oppose a location. So if you're asking for alternatives, I don't necessarily want to dictate personally between the other options that the administration has laid out. I think it's fair to have that be a community conversation because it affects districts other than mine. And so I want to be mindful of the thoughts of the other council members and what they would want to say about the other options that have been identified. But at this point, my position is that regarding this particular location, that it should be taken off the list and taken off the list as soon as possible. And city resources shouldn't be utilized, if we're going to preserve taxpayer money on a site that is not viable, if we're going to assume and agree with Board of Water Supply. Happy to take follow-up on that because I see some thoughts churning. And again, like I said, I recognize and respect the decision. I think it is sincere. I think that, when we're looking at placing a landfill and using modern technology, I think we have a lot of really smart engineers that are really educated and also that see a possibility of complying with Department of Health and EPA regulations. But we also recognize, and I think, Manager Ernie Lau's concern is that we know that all landfills at some point would leak. I don't think that's actually in question by anyone based on conversations I've had with all parties. At some point, right? I think the question is at what point and how far into the future are we going to protect?
Thank you. You're jumping out of your seat. Mr. Director Babcock, do you want to make a comment on what Councilmember Wire said?
Sure, yeah, thanks for the question. So the reason we, all 6 sites that were evaluated by our landfill advisory committee in 21 and 22 were all in the interior part of the island was because there were no legal sites legally available other than those. If you go to the website and you look at that selection map and it shows all the restrictions in different colors and you can turn each of them on and off, you find that when you get rid of when you take all the federal considerations in as well, which is airports, tsunami inundation zones, et cetera. And then you add in Act 73, which is the half-mile buffer from schools, residences and hospitals, and also conservation lands. Then there's only place left is in the interior of the island, and that kind of shows up. And so the 6 sites are not every single possible location in the interior of the island, but there's really not that many. So that's where they all were, and that's what was evaluated and scored. And so the one thing that was excluded were some potential sites that are on military land. And so that was a concern that the city had not pursued those sites, and we had not, in the past. And the thinking was that we wouldn't be able to, that we'd be unlikely to be able to get that permission from the military, or that it would take such a long time, perhaps, to require congressional action that we didn't pursue them. So when that was rejected, essentially, we were asked by our advisory committee to go back and ask for an extension, and we evaluated the military lands, and that was made public. All the negotiation that happened on that, and ultimately the military said no. We need those lands, and you can't have those. And one of them is, of course, the Waipahu soccer complex right there, right? Which is in the Caprock area. It is not, otherwise it's not restricted. And so it doesn't have a legal restriction, except for it has ownership that we can't trump. So as was mentioned, we can, in the public interest, force someone to sell us land that's private, but we can't do that with state or federal, right? We can only do it with private. So that's kind of how we got, to where we were. And if you draw the line for the no pass zone, we said we have no legal avenues other than in the middle, because the others all have statute that prohibit their use.
The state lands in Kalailoa.
Kalailoa, yes. So Kalailoa has an airport restriction. So all of that, there's an airport runway there, so it's all off limits. So it's 10,000 feet all around any airport for any landfills. That's federal. There's no air around it.
Oh, Kalailoa is state land.
Doesn't matter who owns it. It's because there's an airport. So it's for protection of aviation. So that's FAA. So birds can take down an airplane, unfortunately. So you can't have landfill. And there's five airports. So there's kind of a lot of areas restricted.
If I may add, if you go on our council website, we have did some of the documents that director, and they're actually on the E&D website. Are they all? I'll ask if they're all on the main page, because I know they have a link.
Everything's there.
Yeah, and Board of Water Supply also has a link as well on their main page to look at that overlay that rules out, some areas intended for development, rules out, the no pass zone. There's some environmental justice concerns, and so I totally agree with and understand the thought process and what was presented. I just want to caveat and just note, when we talk about only legal path, I think each path has a legal option. And so I just don't want the takeaway to be, or the implication to be, that the site selected is the only legal option, because each requires a legal process. In this initial case, the legal process being challenging the Board of Water Supply's position, which we've been aware of since 2022. Of course, the others being going through the Land Use Commission process, the legislative process, having further discussions with, and that's not to undermine what was said, but I just wanted to clarify that, because I think that's been something we've talked through in our discussions with the administration, is just the framing and the candor in the presentation of the conversation.
Thank you. One quick far-out question. As an engineer, I take it you probably would know, when you build a structure like the reef runway offshore somewhere that obviously not over an aquifer, but the reef runway was built offshore, and I think it's pretty solid and it's man-made. So a structure like that possibly possible?
Yes, it would be challenging for a couple of reasons, but it is possible to do that. There isn't anything possible in the urban Honolulu area because, again, there's the airport there. And so it basically rules out that area for the entire duration of the life of a landfill. So you can't really do that there. So one question would be where, we want to build this extra land, but there would be a lot of restrictions with respect to offshore, land, filling in of making new land that would it's highly protected as a special management area in terms of zoning and things that you can do. I think in a technical sense, it's definitely feasible. In terms of getting permits to be able to do it and stuff is would be quite another thing. And then one of the other big things would be tsunami, so that's all in a tsunami inundation zone around the whole island. So I think by definition, if we built something offshore, it would be in a tsunami inundation zone, and you really don't want to be doing landfilling operations if a tsunami comes and overruns your facility now or anytime in the future. So
Okay, one follow-up question, Jayton?
Sorry. I know we need to move on. First off, thank you. And none of us on this board wants your job. So we know your job is very difficult. If we're not able to build another landfill quickly, do we have alternatives? Can we expand H-Power? Have we looked? I think a delegation went to Singapore. They do a great job of turning their waste into sidewalks and all kinds of other stuff. Have we explored those options as well, just in case we can't build another landfill? Because we are running out of space.
yeah, thanks for that question. So we currently don't envision a scenario where we don't need a landfill at all. We do really good at what we call diversion even now, and H-Power is a huge part of that, as you know. A million tons is the waste stream per year. So that's about a ton per person per year. And around 200,000 tons or so ends up going to the landfill. And there's a lot of recycling that happens. The diversion rate is over 80%. So 80% of the waste stream doesn't go there. And we continue to explore and develop and implement new recycling programs. And we have several that are underway right now. One is we'll be soon, we make compost out of the green waste. So soon food waste is going to go out of the gray cart and into the green cart, be made into compost with the rest of the green waste. So that'll be sometime this year. We started a new e-waste recycling program. So within a few weeks, all convenience centers will have a new bin that's just for e-waste. So you can drop it off there, because currently what the guidance is, you put it in your gray bin. All e-waste goes in gray bin, it gets burned, goes and made into ash. So we'll be taking that, and we have a recycler, and that will be sent somewhere to the mainland and recycled. Those are a couple examples. The other big one I think I've talked about before is our ash recycling project, which is in permitting now, and then we'll build it. We built the building. We don't have all the equipment yet, but at that point, we'll be taking 60% of the ash will become sand material that'll go into asphalt. So just like you said, what they're doing some places in Europe. But eliminating, it's not a question of H-Power. H-Power has excess capacity. Capacity of H-Power is about 3,000 tons a day. The waste stream is about 2,000 tons a day. So there really is no capacity issue. We can burn pretty much everything. And so that's a very efficient operation. There are some other options for waste conversion processes, and we're looking at those. So we're doing the long-range planning for that. When we have to replace the original part of H-Power, it will probably be something different, which will facilitate greater recycling. But in the end, it would be challenging. The operating permit for a facility like H-Power says you have to have in our case, a landfill. You have to have a local place where ash can go in order to operate it. A possibility would be to ship all materials, either ash or non-burnables or everything that goes into the landfill. So we've looked into that, and we'll be looking into the cost and feasibility of that. It has been tried in the past and it didn't work, but we're interested in trying to find out whether that's feasible again and what it would cost. But with the cost of shipping, so shipping waste is very common on the mainland, but it can be done by truck and train and stuff like that. So here we've got to go at least 2,500 miles just to get to the West Coast, and California is probably not going to take any waste, but Oregon and Washington, Nevada might, or perhaps a foreign country. But it's very expensive, to ship to ship trash. And so, or even ash. So, but it is something that we're looking at. So, but I don't think there's, in our lifetimes, there isn't a scenario where we don't have a landfill at all, because there's quite a few things that we can't burn at H Power now. And that's, not going to change because it makes too much pollution, certain items. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I don't see any other questions, but we support all your efforts to figure this out. So thank you very much for your efforts.
No problem. I'll be back next month. You can ask more questions.
Thank you.
We'll still be talking about it, I'm sure.
Mahalo.
Councilmember Okimoto.
Hello, my name is Aaron. I'm with the Office of Councilmember Okimoto. Good evening, Chair. Good evening, Board. Thank you for having me. Quick legislative update. The Honolulu City Council had its last regularly scheduled monthly meeting in 2024, where we honored House Speaker and former House Speaker and Councilmember Calvin Say. Quick legislative update. Last week, we considered a few bills. The other council member mentioned Bill 61 relating to wheelies. I know that this area has had a little bit of issue with the e-bikes. So there's Bill 52. It's relating to e-bikes, trying to regulate the possession and use of bicycles and electric bicycles. Resolution 2525 requests the city administration to submit the updated 2025 local hazard mitigation pay plan to the city council. We also had an informational briefing, an update on firework enforcement for the city and county of Honolulu. Had a couple constituent concerns. They had a concern with an encampment with two male individuals in Crestview Park. The District 3 CPT community policing team made checks in the area. Located an encampment with two male individuals. The officers offered outreach services which were declined, and informed the individuals of a cleanup operation in the area. The the DFM, Department of Facilities Maintenance, conducted a stored property ordinance enforcement that happened December 17th. The two individuals were later seen near the YPO shopping center. Once again, they were offered outreach assistance. They declined and chose to move along. Officers will continue to monitor these areas and take the appropriate enforcement action when violations are observed. The second one there's a concern about a homeless male living behind the HECO box near the YPO Jack in the Box. HPD went out there with the city SPO and Kileo outreach last week, Friday, but they were unable to locate the individual. The area behind the HECO box was cleaned of any personal belongings and trash. They will continue to make checks of the area and offer outreach services to the individual. They know who it is. But one final thing, we do have a new member to our team, Miss Pua Smith Kauhane. She comes from former Speaker Say's office and has been around with the NCO for a while. She's currently right there, and she has a couple important dates for you guys. So I'm gonna let her.
Aloha, everyone. I'm Pua Smith Kauhane from Councilmember Okimoto's office. Thank you so much and Happy New Year for having us. Normally what I would do is I would put important dates in our chat, but because we're in-person meeting, I just wanted to give some updates or some important websites and links that could be given to you guys that the community might need. So the first one is the real property tax, which is https realpropertytax.honolulu.gov. The important dates are February 1st, certified assessment roll sent to City Council. February 20th, 2025, the second half year payments are due. And June 30th is the end of the tax year. So these are just dates that we wanted to let the community know about because I know that real property taxes is an important topic. The other thing is that we talk about testimony, submitting testimony. That website is hnl.ehawaii.gov, hnl./testimony. So we were talking, Councilmember Wire was talking about testimony. We always accept testimony and we're open to any kind of testimony or suggestions. So if anything needs to be, if you guys have any concerns, by all means, please file for testimony. The other thing is Complete Streets. Complete Streets, they have a quarterly report. You could either check it online or you can actually sign up for the report. That is www.honolulu.gov/complete streets. And then, of course, our wonderful website for feral chickens is www.honolulu.gov/CSD/feral/chickens. So if there's any questions, thank you.
Just one final thing. The council member Wire also mentioned it was 25-3 is the one for to reaffirm the city's commitment to not putting the landfill over the aquifer. So if you want to submit testimony, please do, because the council loves to hear what the community would like to say about that. And with that, I'll take any questions back.
Thank you. Any questions from members of the board, audience? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Appreciate
for your report. Councilmember Toba, thank you
Chair,
for
thank
your
you.
patience.
Neighborhood board members, everyone in the audience, I'll keep this real quick. I echo everything that the last two speakers updated you with. New committees, I'm the chair of a committee called Innovation, Technology, and Entertainment. If you didn't know, Bill 52, that's the film bill that I've been working on for the last 4 years past. So it's a great bill. I hope that will, you always talk about diversifying the economy. I think this is something that can really help, hopefully, a film studio on our side and build around to create good jobs that can keep local families here. Let's see, we did Tag You Out this past weekend. And in the Waipahu area, we had high school students from Waipahu, members of Just Serve, and we saw about almost 60 people come out and wipe out graffiti in the area as well in Eva Beach. And that was really exciting seeing high school students and students in general and people from the community come out and paint up the graffiti in their area. So I want to thank all the volunteers that participated in that. This coming the 31st on a Friday, we're doing a walk a block, and I've been talking about that now for the last couple of months. This will be happening, and I want to invite the neighborhood board members to come and join us. That happens at Ace Medical, 9 a.m. January 31st. Joining us will be people from Kealoha, the mayor's office. We also will have HPD, the Department of Transportation, and the surrounding businesses. So everything else you can get on my bulletin. And with that, I'll take some questions. Thank you.
Any questions from members of the board? Councilmember Toba? If not, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the governor's representative.
Hello, board members and everyone. Shivani Ramos for Governor Green. This month's governor newsletter highlighted his accomplishments he has made in the past 2 years he has been in office, but most notably this past Tuesday, Governor Green delivered his third State of the State address, and he emphasized unity and resilience while outlining key initiatives to tackle Hawaii's pressing challenges. And so some of those key initiatives are affordable housing, homelessness, and also he highlighted the Maui recovery. So following the 2023 Maui wildfires, recovery efforts included investing over $2 billion in federal disaster relief and 800 million in state funds to support survivors and rebuild communities. And he is focusing on providing long-term housing for displaced residents through innovative interim and permanent housing projects, and also enhancing wildfire prevention measures, including deploying early alert sensors and reestablishing the State Fire Marshal Office with increased funding. So Governor has requested for $2.2 million in funding for the state fire marshal, which they are in the process of hiring. And it's currently under my department, under the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations for now, but they're working to move it over to the Department of Defense. And I think it's a bill and it's circulating in the ledge this year. So we can find out more about that, but the process for hiring a fire marshal is moving along. In his State of the State address, Governor also highlighted healthcare, public safety, and he also highlighted the illegal fireworks. So in when it comes to fireworks, Governor Green wants law enforcement to issue citations up to $300 that he said it would represent a very direct and simple way to deter illegal fireworks without requiring a preponderance of evidence like jaywalking or speeding. And in regards to public safety, the administration has passed 2 new gun safety laws designating sensitive places where firearms are prohibited and providing active shooter training in public and charter schools. And Governor concluded with a vision of hope and determination, emphasizing transformative projects like modernizing Hawaii's stadium, pursuing food security reforms, and enhancing justice systems. And in this past week, Attorney General Ann Lopez, alongside 17 other states, she filed a lawsuit to challenge President Trump's executive order seeking to end birthright citizenship. And just today, Governor Green announced the opening of a new kauhale, which is the latest in a series of housing initiatives aimed at addressing homelessness in Hawaii. So this kauhale is located, I believe it's in Waianae. So it's operated in partnership with U.S. Vets, and the kauhale will serve up to 19 individuals transitioning from houselessness to stable independent housing. Yeah, so that's all I have, but I am happy to take back questions for Governor, questions, comments, concerns, and I can relay those questions onto the appropriate State Department as well. Thank you.
Are there any questions from members of the board? One quick question. It's a follow-up to a question that I raised in October. And what that was mentioned that it's the state project and we've been putting in millions of dollars for affordable housing. And this is a project that was supported by the state with affordable rental for Hale Okua. It is at Alakia and Veritania. In October, I mentioned that the developer, High Ridge Costa, and I think Michael, but the developers are running television commercials to say that we have a few units left, rent, but this past week I continued to see the same commercial. So I couldn't understand why, if there's such a demand for affordable housing and rental, why they couldn't, get tenants for these rentals. That they said there was a few, but it's the same commercial running since October. And I just saw them this past week running still, saying that we have these few rentals available, but apparently there are no people, there's no one that wants to rent these homes. So I'm wondering why. And we're continuing to pour money into, affordable housing, but we have one that's built already, but you would think that people would want to snap these units up, but they're not. So I don't know if you were able to find anything, the stats that you presented following that meeting, it did not address that at all. So I just thought I'd raise that again and see if you could find out. Thank you.
I did reach out to the Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation. So that housing project, I think it's called Kukua Hale. I also see that commercial a lot on TV. So it's not managed or owned by the state. So nor are most of the affordable housing projects for which we provide assistance for, but instead the state's role is to support developers in getting these projects off the ground. So developers usually come to us when they are ready to move forward. And because funding resources are limited, the state prioritize projects that are the most shovel ready during the application process. So as for the challenges with finding renters, in some cases, it's important to note that once a project is built, its management, including leasing and addressing any issues that arise, it's the responsibility of the developer or property manager. So while we're not directly involved, as you said, the various factors could influence demand, such as, unit design, location, availability of parking or pricing. So developers typically gather feedback from the potential renters to address these issues when they arise. So while the state's role ends after providing initial support, we are um, always focused on ensuring that the funding we provide helps create much needed housing opportunities for the community. So I kind of hope that kind of clarifies some things, but I can take more of your comments and questions back to um, HFEC to try see if they can address it.
Okay, thank you. I don't think that was satisfactory. I don't
no.
think it answers the question. But anyway, Jason,
Okay.
you had a question?
I think if you can take back to help them build an answer that we're looking for.
Yeah.
Is that we are using state funds from our taxpayers, correct? To fund the building of that building, for example. Right? The developer came to the state and said, I want to build an affordable rental for seniors, but I need money. And so we gave them a check, if I'm understanding correctly.
Okay.
Okay. So what we're asking for is what is the benefit to our taxpayers? We funded this project with all the money from all of us. And what is our return on investment? When we see the building empty, when we see the commercials playing, begging people basically to come rent these units, what is the justification that we go back to our taxpayers and say, we took your money, we built this building, and now it's empty? Our citizens are not seeing a return on investment, and that is frustrating for the average citizen in this state who cannot afford rent, who cannot afford to buy a home. And here we are giving a developer money to build a building that sits empty. So if you can take that back and get a better answer from them, where is our return on the investment that we gave? That's what we're asking for.
Okay, I'll take that back.
The reason behind asking that question, as you may know, is that the city and the state, both of them, HFPC, approved projects in Waipahu, right down the street where Times Supermarket is, and where they're going to have that street fest. That's the first thing that they're doing, is they're bringing a street fest prior to the building of this 530 units high-rise, 19-story and 18-story high-rises on Waipahu Depot Road and Ikimoy, that area, and it's all affordable rental. So hopefully, they don't run into the same problem as what's going on at Halikokua, at Veritania and Alakea. And it's just one of the same developers that's developing the project here in Waipahu that was helping to develop or developing that project on Alakea Street. So that is the reason for the concern. The state is putting in money, the state and city all approved it. So the question is, as Jason said, what will be the return? The only thing we've seen is that the first thing they're doing is bringing in a street fest. And they need a liquor license for a beer garden. So, that's not very encouraging to the community, or at least to the board. So, I hope you can take that message back to HFPC, because they're continuing to pour money. And, we all support the building of affordable housing. We need it, but, they got to look at what the outcomes are. But I don't know if we're doing that. You know, you give them the money and after that they say it's the developer's problem if they cannot rent or sell. Then who gets left with the holding the bag? It's all the taxpayers that help fund those projects. And the other thing is that they overrode the transit-oriented development plan that the community worked on. They got special exemptions, you know, permit exemptions because the state law allows them. So we want to find out what we're getting in return. HFPC is responsible in administering that particular law, 201. Thank you. We hope you can give us some answers to that.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, Maurice.
With
based on their low income, they don't qualify, and because of the credit record and all that kind of stuff, that they don't qualify to get into the affordable housing. And then I had a friend who was a superintendent for 8 years. How did you get in?
how did you get into the low income housing, affordable housing? He said, oh, because the low income people don't qualify, so they go to the next group, the middle income. And then when you go into the low income affordable, you see all these nice cars, boats, and all those things. That's because the low income people, they cannot put qualifications on them. I mean, if you're gonna tell them that they have to have good credit, they have to earn a certain income, they're never gonna be able to get into an affordable housing. That's a scam. But you know, so it's that's why I think it's a qualifications that she needs to find out how to get into affordable housing.
Oh, I will find out.
Any other questions? If not, thank you very much for your report. Okay, moving along, Senator Kidani, I don't see any representatives. Senator Aquino, Representative Chan, I see nothing there.
So I'm Dustin, Representative Corey Chun's office manager. I'm just here. Opening day was January 15, and I'm really just here to take any questions if there's any.
Thank you. Any questions for Representative Chan? If not, thank you very much for your patience. Anybody from Representative Lamasal's office? No one. Representative La Chica is here.
Aloha members, good evening and Happy New Year. Trish Chica, State Representative for District 37, Mililani Town, Mililani Mauka, Waipahu Gentry, and Core Ridge. You have my newsletter, so just wanted to wish you all a Happy New Year. As Dustin had shared last week, was it just last week? January 15th marked the 33rd legislative session, and I'm excited to share that this year I'm grateful to be able to serve as part of the House leadership team as the Assistant Majority Floor Leader. So what that means is really providing support for the Majority Floor Leader, helping to count the votes, assisting with a lot of the caucus support, as well as bill review for major deadlines. But I get to also continue as the Vice Chair of the Education Committee. Two new committees I'm joining this year are the committees on housing and transportation. In the newsletter is our cost of living and affordability survey. So this impacts us all. We hear this more and more, how it's just everything is just squeezing our families. Even folks who are, making decent incomes are just feeling the impact of Hawaii's increasing prices, everything from childcare, healthcare, medicine, food and groceries. So I would like to hear your thoughts, as well as, what can we do to help assist you and your Ohana to continue staying here on Oahu. And then some updates. For those who live in Waipahu Gentry, this is in my district, but we've just received reports that the Kipapa Gulch homeless encampment has been reactivated over the holiday. So Yala Ho has been providing ongoing outreach and support. And this Friday, my office will be hosting a site visit with U.S. Army Garrison Hawaii, the new garrison commander, because there's been a change of command. Colonel Sullivan, Rachel Sullivan will be there, as well as some of our officers. The U.S. Department of Transportation will be there, and yeah, our outreach provider. And so just to, look at overarching like comprehensive solutions for this. And then I think that's pretty much it. We also received a complaint about the kind of illegal election flags and banners that were still up on Lumiaina and Kamehameha Highway. So we also work to address those. There's one on the right if you drive along Kamehameha Highway. So those have been down since January. So let us know if you see them back up again. I will be happy to take any questions.
Board Member Jake.
This predates you joining the legislature, but when they were building Core Ridge, we remember them coming to the board and talking about improvements to the streets entering into Core Ridge and down Kamehameha. Yeah. As Core Ridge is filling with residents, it's impacting the Waipahu off-ramp on the freeway in a negative way. Traffic is backing up way into Pearl City now, where it used to just back up to the Sears Distribution Center. Can you reach out to the developer and find out, or the state, when the road work and the road widening and the extra lanes that they said they were going to put in is going to be started or done? It's starting to impact the daily commute for our residents in lower Waipahu.
Yeah, we can definitely ask them for that, and even like if they intend to do another traffic study. As far as I know, the last update, which was last year that they provided to us from Castle and Cook, was across from Costco. We are going to get another box store, big box store. It might be the store that has a big red circle on it, maybe. So what I understand is they're building an off-ramp there from the big like Autoplex, but I will confirm and make sure that we get that information to you. But as far as I know, on the Kauka Boulevard, they're not building any additional like expansion over there, like that's at that limit. But I understand what you mean about the backup there as well as on the Kamehameha Highway side.
Any other questions for Representative Lachita? Audience, if not, thank you very much for your report.
Thank you.
I don't see anyone from Representative Burke's office. So we'll move on to Congressman Ed Case. Mr. Garcia has been very patient all night waiting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, those in the audience, and those that will be viewing on Olelo. For the record, Nestor Garcia, Communications Director for Congressman Ed Case. First of all, as you can see, I passed out his first quarter report. And just to go over it quickly, he did retain his seats, plural, on the two key subcommittees on the Appropriations Committee, the subcommittees on Defense and Homeland Security. He will remain in those subcommittees. Not quite sure if he's going to remain on the Committee on Natural Resources. That's still to be settled. It goes on to say in the report that he names the winners of his annual Congressional App Challenge. He has sent his nominations to those that he selected to our nation's 4 service academies. As I can see from other electeds that they do their own surveys of their constituents. He's done his as well. And it almost always comes out the same result as the other surveys that top of mind among our constituents is the cost of living, yeah. Affordable housing and the like, pocketbook issues. And so on that score, just last Friday, Congressman Case, along with his Republican colleague from Guam, Congressman James Moylan, reintroduced what's called the Affordable Shipping for All Act. What this is has to do with whenever someone tries to order something like on Amazon or whatever, and they try to have it shipped here to Hawaii, most likely from the mainland. There are times when those companies refuse to ship at all to Hawaii. Yeah. And if they do decide to ship something to us, it costs a lot more than what it would be for those people to ship it to a location on the mainland. For example, if you take a 2-pound package, you want to ship it from New York to Los Angeles, $14. From Los Angeles to New York, I'm sorry, from Los Angeles to Hawaii, $45. From Los Angeles to New York, $14. Roughly the same distance. So Congressman Moylan, Congressman Case sees that practice as discriminatory. And this year, in this particular measure, they've added somebody else that they're targeting. Our friends with the United States Parcel Service. I'm not sure if people understand what happened recently, but our friends at the Postal Service created what's called a Zone 10 for Hawaii, Zone 10. What that means is that certain packages that are shipped to Hawaii went up by 5%. Cost went up by 5%. These are packages that are Priority Mail Express, Priority Mail, USPS Ground Advantage packages. Zone 10, price went up by 10%. Nowhere else in the country is there a zone like that. So that's the reason for the bill that was introduced. On that score about the cost of living, the congressman will also reintroduce measures to reform what's called the Jones Act, which essentially creates a monopoly for the last 100 years, where if you ship from one port in the United States to another port like Hawaii, you have to have it on a US flagged ship, who has to be American, all of that, to protect the merchant marine. It was actually to protect the merchant marine during times of war too, but that was 100 years ago. So we're trying to reform that yet again, see what happens when we introduce that measure in Congress this coming week. And the most important note I want to leave behind with members here and tonight, and for those who might be listening, the congressman himself will be appearing in this very room next Tuesday. Next Tuesday night, Congressman Case will appear at the Philcom Center for the second of a series of 6 talk stories, community meetings. So here at the Philcom Center Tuesday, 6:30 to 8. This will be the first time he'll have it here in the Philcom Center. So I invite members of the board and people in the audience and those listening to have an opportunity to meet with the congressman himself and could share your concerns with him in person. With that, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, willing to take any questions you might have.
Thank you. Any questions from members of the board? Thank you very much for your report.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We've finished all of our reports. Thank you, everyone, for your patience and good questions tonight. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Is there anybody from the Board of Water Supply? Ampo, member Ignacia is not here. Are there any other reports? Any other meetings? If not, announcements. The next meeting of the Waipahu Neighborhood Board will be on February 27th. Here again at the Philcom Center, 7 p.m. Any other announcements? If not, thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned.